Welcome to the People's Forum.
We are demanding recoupment. Recoupment of our birthright with compound interest over the years of oppression and exploitation. We're demanding recoupment of earnings that were never paid. The initial demand of this recoupment is, as a start, $6 billion. $6 billion for the creation of a black urban coalition.
Welcome back to the People's Forum. America, we've been gone for 4 months, but we are now back, and we have a series of shows that is going to absolutely blow your shoes off. We're dealing with ADOS and what that movement is all about. We're going to frame that, and we're going to speak about the real-life monopoly game that Americans are trapped into. Today we have one guest, Sharif Anael-Bey, businessman, entrepreneur, public speaker, Grand Sheik, and member of the Moorish Science Temple of America, and overall fantastic brother, my brother, Sharif.
Good afternoon, or good evening, actually. Good evening. I am pleased to be on this bill.
I'm glad to have you. The first thing I want to do, for those who don't know, is tell them what ADOS means and specifically what we tie that to. ADOS stands for American Descendants of Slaves. I personally like to say enslaved persons, but they, who am I to challenge them? They've chosen the word slaves, and I agree with it totally. We're talking about the reparations, the redress, the acknowledgement, the redress, and the compensation for enslaved black Americans that took place here on the continent of the United States of America. We're not ignoring the fact that there were crimes committed, egregious crimes committed all over the globe by those 9 European global powers, but specifically we have to address compensation here in America right now for this group. And then as they tell you on a plane, you put your life jacket on first, you put your oxygen on first before you help the people next to you. And that's what we have to do. So first and foremost, tell us about yourself. Go ahead.
Oh, wow. Well, I'm an entrepreneur. I operate an own martial art and executive security training business in Syracuse, New York. I'm from the Long Beach, born in California, and I grew up in the Bronx.
Okay, I'm going to stop you temporarily. We're having some technical difficulties hearing your audio for some reason. But we'll let it drop out and bring it back in, and I'll just summarize. What he was saying is that he's an executive protection expert. He's a speaker. He's a martial artist. And he's overall for and about our people and their birthright. And I say that because I don't like to disconnect us from these lands. We have a certain birthright that has to be recognized, and it needs to start right here and now. Right now, the European powers have their finger in the dam, and they're all standing there with their finger in the dam because nobody wants that thing to break. When that thing finally breaks in one of these places that they left a scourge on actually receives compensation, then they know that that'll open up the door for everyone else. So go ahead. My first thing is, go ahead, I'm sorry.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can. It was just a little choppy. It's okay now. Just speak up. It's good.
Beautiful.
But this is a 12-part series. We're going to start today, and we're going to work our way methodically through. The first thing is going to be, of course, to define what slavery was, the time it took place, and what we're looking redress for. So please define, as if people need to know what slavery was.
Okay. Well, again, as mentioned before, I'm a local branch chief of the Moorish Science of America. The Moorish Science of America religious organization, also a civic organization. And one of the things tasked with doing is restoring the identity and cultural heritage of the people now called African American. Okay? So, as it relates to slavery, one of the things that the founder, Prophet Jubilee, taught us is that every nation suffered slavery. The significance about ours is that we lost our identity in the process. And so this places us in a very unique position because, among other things, the condition of our servitude turned us into a new people, right? And so, I mean, I don't want to get ahead of myself, but it relates to the whole ADOS. We have a different bandit takeover.
Mm-hmm.
We love the idea that ADOS is addressing, the idea about ADOS addressing identity.
Mm-hmm.
And states that the terms Negro, Black, African American are insufficient as it relates to directly addressing reparations.
Exactly. So for the audience, so they can follow us, we're talking about a 100% tax, as Sean Rochester always said, a 100% tax on your labor. You are not in control of your body, your mind, or your soul. They tell you what to think, they tell you what to eat, they tell you what to wear, when you wake up, when you go to sleep, what your days are, and who you should worship. You don't even own your children. So if you are to procreate or to quote unquote marry or have a union, you don't even have control of your labor nor the capital produced from your labor or your children. You're in no control of yourself. You're as they say in law at times, you're a minor.
Right.
You know.
Right. The whole identity issue again, we love about ADOS because you're addressing identity. This is extremely important because it is used to very powerful effect in America. I gotta give a shout out to the LGBT community, whether you agree with them or their lifestyle or agree with their politics. The fact is, transform their movement from a pro-choice movement to an identity. Well, it went from who do I go to with to who do I go to bed?
I'm going to be doing a lot of quoting today, but like Dr. Claude Anderson says, we're moving from horizontal arguments of our religion or where we're actually from or if we're tall, fat, short, if we like muffins. Those are all horizontal issues. We should get off of those issues, come together under this ADOS banner, and that is a vertical issue of who we are, what exactly happened, what should happen now to correct that, and where we should go in the future. And once we get that, you know, everything else can go from there. But you have to start at that simple place. It doesn't matter who you worship, if you pray standing, if you pray sitting, if you work on Saturdays, if you work on Tuesdays, nothing else matters. Who you're in bed with, who you're in love with, how many children you have. The only thing that matters is if you are an American descendant of a slave. Period. That's
right. Agreed. Agreed. That's why it's so powerful. So, and again, with the Moorish Science of America, we're very big on the whole issue of identity, identify. But I'm a home. You know, my grandkids call me grand. You know, my wife, the husband. When I'm on the job, I'm called something. When I'm in my so.
But here I call you brother.
There you go. Right. Above and beyond everything else.
Yes.
So with it, you know, so that's why, like, for instance, we talk about Negro and Black. Those are slave labels.
Exactly.
African American is an identifier, is at best an ethnic identifier.
Exactly, for a continent.
Correct.
And as I like to tell people, and please hear this, Africa is where we met them. Africa is not where we were from. If I meet you in Brooklyn, does that mean I'm from Brooklyn? No, I'm actually from Harlem. So
That's right.
we're gonna get the idea off of where we met. You know, the people, the assailants, the people who were committing the crimes on us, because we are actually a global people, and we're from every bit, you know. So we have an argument in New Zealand, we have an argument in Australia, we have an argument in Africa, we have an argument in North, South, Central America, we have an argument on every bit of this continent.
I'm glad you said that, because starting with ADOS here in America, it goes back as far as the birth of America.
Exactly.
We know our statement goes back to the medieval era.
Well, for our people, we're enslaved, as they like to use the date 1619. The country is quote unquote founded in 1776. You know,
Right.
so there's 100 and so odd years there before they even have their own country. They're fighting against England. We're still here doing the work. You know,
let's take
African Americans, unlike any other group,
Yes.
has taken part, and this is not my statement, they've taken part in every war under the American banner, and the only people that have taken part in every war and never actually fought against America in any war, and every
Right.
other group that's come here and participated has actually fought against America, most recently the Civil War, where not only did they commit treason, but they were actually forgiven and given back everything. Doesn't make any sense, you know, but there's some commonalities.
To that point about the Civil War and the misconception, which is a show all to itself about the Amendment as it relates to our people and citizenship. In fact, the term 14th Amendment citizen was a conceit put on our people by the Confederate sympathizers, former Confederates, because 14th and 15th Amendments were contingency that they had to take in order to reach. And so, if anybody's a 14th Amendment citizen, they are, because our people never left.
Exactly.
They did.
We are the original citizens. We're the original.
Actual brother, okay. See, I want to go back to a point made about 1619. That one of the things during the debate in Harlem in 2016 that I brought up with master teacher Dr. Joseph Ben Yelkinen, right? He outlined with explicit detail that the very first African state in the Americas came around 1601, and not from Africa. They came from, as you put it before, we're a diaspora people.
Exactly.
Even during the time when our people ruled Europe via Spain, we were a diasporic people, and that the only people on the planet that mirror that level of diversity of an African people is the so-called African American.
Okay. We've got 2 minutes left before our first commercial. And in that time, what I'd like to do is I'd like to have Sharif speak to the climate in America in 1619, the climate for enslaved persons, the climate for indentured persons, the fact that no one had even been white prior to a certain point in America. In 2 minutes or less, can you please sum that up?
I could definitely do that. By 1619, you were seeing the end of what's called the seasoning period. From 1492, a researcher by the name of James Preston wrote a book called The Dogs of God. And he says that the most significant date for Western civilization, especially the United States, 1892. We all know what took place in 1892.
Exactly.
Now, from 1492 to 1619 was a period where the old world history and identity of our people was erased. By 1619, that process was pretty much finished, which is why they gave the traditional date for North American slavery, 19.
We've probably got 30 seconds left, and I don't want to lose this. We're going to go to break, but when we come back, we're going to pick up at 1492 because there was something going on in Southern Europe at that time too, and Africa, that led to this entire thing. We'll be right back.
I see you mobbing over her. Let's go. Let's mob. Let's crawl. Let's crawl. Let's crawl. Hey, yo, we mobbing. Come on, girl. Let's crawl. Hey, yo, let's crawl. Hey, yo, let's crawl. Hey, let's crawl. Hey, yo, let's crawl.
Okay, we're back. We're going to pick up at 1492 and discuss the significance of that date in terms of the world and what was going on all over the world.
Outstanding. So 1492, according to James Preston, wrote the book The Dogs of God. Excellent book. 1492 tied together 4 or 5 major world-changing events. 1492, when the Europeans conquered or overthrew African rule in Spain. That was 1492, the fall of Granada. So you had that, which also was the culmination of the 500-year period called the Reconquista, which was Europeans trying to take back Europe from African rule. You also had the formation of the first modern nation state, which was Spain. It was formed by 2 kingdoms coming together, the King Aragon and Castile, through the marriage of Ferdinand and that was the first state, modern nation state in the world. They came together to fight our forefathers and overthrow us in Spain.
Which opens the door.
Yes, sir. Now watch this. It was the acceleration, 1492, in that defeat was the acceleration of an order from Pope Eugene IV, issued in 1442. This order, this bull was called Elias Quit. This bull is literal request authorized the African transatlantic slave trade.
Can you say that again, please? Because most people don't realize which pope did that and that he actually had a decree.
Absolutely. Pope Eugene IV. And it was called Elias Quit, which is ILLUSQUI. And it was literally, it was the start of the African transatlantic slave trade. And it was described as a new crusade against the Moors. And so you had the end of Africa in Spain, the formation of the first modern nation state, the end of the old world civilization, which was African-dominated Europe. the acceleration of the transatlantic slave trade and the discovery of the New World. All of this 90.
Okay. And when you say discovery of New World, we're talking about the new Home Depot, the new shopping place, the new place to get rubber, to get wood, to get just minerals and different things. A new place to go shopping.
Yes.
You know,
Yes.
deal with it there, bring it back to Europe. You know, and
Yes.
enjoy the spoils.
Let me share something else with you.
Okay.
A European out of Great, a researcher, he wrote a book called Mysteries of the Mexican Pyramid. In the book, he details how during the Spanish Inquisition, it was the Spanish Inquisition that enforced this on our forefathers in Spain. That's who was directed at.
Mm-hmm.
What we were called devil, witches, warlocks, etc. Right?
Mm-hmm.
Here's the crazy part, brother. And I'm quoting the book, to deter possible opposition to the Inquisition in New Spain, 34 Negroes were hanged and decapitated in Mexico City. The question is, number one, what in the world did Negroes in Mexico City know about the Spanish Inquisition happening against the Moors in Spain? Two, why in the world did the European authorities in what's called New Spain, which included Mexico, Florida, etc., why would they expect opposition from Negroes to the Inquisition?
Because contrary to public opinion, everybody knew that where they were. Everybody knew that they were actually in the Americas, that they were there because they had dealt with them. They had traded with them. They were members of the court. They were members of every court in Europe, you know, for hundreds of years. So
right.
None of this is brand new. It's being rewritten as brand new, but it was absolutely not brand new, not at all.
And so 1619 was like the closing of the chapter on creating the revisionist history.
Exactly.
As it relates to our identity.
Okay. So I want to pick up right there, 1619, Jamestown, Virginia. You know, I want to pick up from right there. What do we have? What do we have when the first enslaved Africans touched the shore? What kind of slavery do we have?
Oh, we have indentured servitude. We have European slaves as well. And see, Dr. Beng put it this way, like in 1501, to go back to 1501 really quick. Those first African slaves were practicing a social norm of the day. They were actually here, according to Dr. Ben, on vacation and ran out of money. So what they did is they loaned themselves out for service.
Which was a common practice.
Common practice.
Amongst many different peoples.
Absolutely.
Because there was light at the end of the tunnel. If you had incurred a debt or gotten yourself in a position where you needed to work yourself, let's say from one continent to the next, you could actually work on a ship and make an agreement to work when you got to, to your point of destination, for a period of time, only to say, okay, I'll be free year number 7, and now I'm going to seek my fortune.
Yes, that was the fact. And what you had, so that was the state of slavery at that time. Also, not all of our people were enslaved. The late Dr. Charles McIntyre's book, incredible book, Criminalizing of a Race, is must have it in your library, where she outlined free Black communities in the 1600s, 1700s, 1800s, and how tied in or dovetailed into the current prison industry.
Exactly. Okay, we've got about 5 to 7 more minutes left in this second segment, but what I want to do is, we have 3 minutes left in this segment. What I want to do is, I want to let the viewers know what happened in 1619. When did those codes, when did they decide to make blackness a crime and sentence you to life in slavery? Let us know about that, and then we'll button that up and pick up next show.
That was, a man named Edward Kemp wrote a book called Lincoln's Philosophy on Common Sense. One of the things that he does, he quotes Lincoln regarding the whole slavery issue and even regarding the Dred Scott case.
For those of you who don't know what Dred Scott is, that's a situation where we were deemed 3/5 of a person.
Yes.
Go ahead.
Now, he corrected Judge Roger Taney and then provided proof that during the framing of the Constitution, there were African American people in at least 5 of the 13 original states that were full citizens, recognized as such, and exercised that right in the political process in the framing of the Constitution. So there were active people that look like you and me that are part of it. Now, what happened with the black codes with the various states subsequent to that was a process denationalization of people of Africa.
Exactly, because those first people were property owners. They,
Yes,
in
sir.
some cases, were slave owners,
Yes, sir.
voting members, functioning voting members. What was important in 1619 was being a property owner, a man of property. It didn't matter where you were from, as long as you were a man of property. We've got 2 minutes left, Sharif. We're going to lose you, but I want you to, take the 2 minutes to close out, and we'll definitely bring you back.
I'll say this, to your point about the property ownership, that was incredibly important. We have records of people of African descent that were classified in 1830 census as black. 10 years later, they acquired property, they were reclassified
As white. He's saying they reclassified as white because that came with a legal standing and it came with privileges. We're going to wrap this up. Thank you, Sharif, for coming down. I really feel like that the audience really is not going to get a chance to really appreciate the information that you have. I want to invite you back on Skype, but I really want to have you here in person. I'd like Ali's men to come in person and just tear down an hour and really do it right. So please, I'd love to have you back.
We'd be honored, sir.
Thank you. Peace.
Peace.